Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today I'm doing an Ojama Obelisk deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Wesley. And this deck is an extremely interesting deck that summons one of the 3 Egyptian god cards along with awesome boss monsters like Ojama King and ABC Buster Dragon, which is so cool to be able to do. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Again, your name, description, every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. And definitely give Wesley some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Obelisk the Tormentor. This card is a great 3-off boss monster in the deck because it's one of the 3 Egyptian god cards. And it's actually super easy in this build to get 3 monsters out on the field to be able to tribute summon out your copy of Obelisk the Tormentor. But this card is an amazing card that requires 3 tributes to normal summon this card, and it cannot be normal set. And this card's normal summon cannot be negated, and when normal summon, cards and effects cannot be activated. It cannot be targeted with spells, traps, or effects. And also once per turn during the end phase, if this card was special summon, send it to the graveyard. You can also tribute 2 monsters to destroy all monsters that your opponent controls, but this card cannot declare an attack the turn you activate that effect. But it's really cool just to summon out a 4,000 attack point god card and win the game. We then play 2 copies of Ojama Yellow. We also play 2 copies of Ojama Black. And finally, for the vanilla monsters, we're also playing 2 copies of Ojama Green. These are combo pieces to use with Oja Magic to be able to add to your hand and use with some really powerful cards like Ojama Mass Simulation, and they help out a lot in this build. I absolutely love playing them at 2 each, and it just helps out a lot in the deck to be able to play them at 2 each in this build so that you can see them with your copies of Oja Magic. We then play 3 copies of Ojama Blue. Ojama Blue is probably the most important of all the Ojama cards in the entire deck, because this card has a great effect that when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the grave, you can actually add 2 Ojama cards from your deck to your hand, which is a really important effect to be able to use with this card, because it helps you get to your cards like Oja Magic, and cards like Ojama Mass Simulation, and even Oja Match, which is just amazing about this card. We then play 2 copies of Ojama Pink. Ojama Pink is a great 2-of in the deck, because this card helps you out a lot, that if this card is sent from the hand or field to the grave, you can activate this effect that each player draws a card, then each player discards a card, then if you discard an Ojama card, you can actually choose an opponent's unused monster zone, and it cannot be used until the end of the opponent's turn, which is a great effect just to help us dig into the deck and also lock down zones with our copies of Ojama King. We then play a single copy of Ojama Red. Ojama Red is a great 1-of in the deck, but you only need a single copy of this card. And as you really when this card is normal summoned, you can special summon up to 4 Ojama monsters from your hand in attack position, which is going to help you swarm the board with Ojama monsters, so you can use them later to tribute summon out your copy of Obelisk the Tormentor, which is just a really cool ability. We then play 3 copies of Rescue Cat. Rescue Cat is a great 3-of in the deck because this card has the ability that you send this card from your side of the field to the graveyard to special summon 2 level 3 or lower beast type monsters from your deck to your side of the field, which is always going to be 2 copies of Ojama Blue that you're going to summon off this card's ability, so you can basically attack into a monster, get them destroyed by battle, and give you some searches, which is really important for this card to be able to do, and it basically gives you 4 searches, which is amazing. We then play a single copy of A Assault Core, 1 copy of B Buster Drake, and a single copy of C Crush Wyvern. These are all in here so we can summon out our ABC boss monster and use them with our copy of Mass Simulation, which is really important to be able to do, but you only need a single copy each to be able to summon off a Mass Simulation, so you really only need to play 1 copy each of these cards, but they're very important in the deck to be able to use, so you can summon them out with Mass Simulation, and it's just really cool to be able to do. We then finally play a single copy of Armed Dragon Level 3. This card is to be able to use with your copy of Oja Match and is a really good 1-of in the deck, but you only want to play level 3 so you can normally summon it out to your side of the field, but it's a great card to be able to play in the deck to use with your copy of Oja Match. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with 2 copies of Ojama Country. Ojama Country is great as a field spell because this card has the ability that once per turn, you can send an Ojama card from your hand to the graveyard to special summon 1 Ojama monster from your grave, which is a really cool ability to be able to do, to send cards like your copy of Ojamagic to the graveyard, so you can basically get a search of your copies of Ojama Green, Black, and Yellow, which is just amazing to be able to do with this card, while also getting another Ojama on the field. It also has a really insane ability that while you control a face-up Ojama monster, you switch the original attack and defense of all monsters on the field, which is a crazy powerful effect because our copy of our Obelisk actually has 4,000, so it doesn't even really affect him, which is amazing. But it will affect a lot of opponents' cards, which is really cool, so we can go in for an OTK. We then play 3 copies of Ojamagic. Ojamagic is a really cool 3-of in the deck, because if this card is sent from your hand or field to the graveyard, you get to add 1 each of Ojama Green, Yellow, and Black from your deck to your hand, which is a really cool ability just to be able to get to those cards to your hand so you can use them with cards like Ojama Mass Simulation, which is so cool. We then play 3 copies of Ojama Mass Simulation. Ojama Mass Simulation is such a cool card because this card gives you 3 monsters on your side of the field to help you summon out your copy of Obelisk while also stepping into something like a copy of ABC Buster Dragon, because it has the ability to reveal a Light Machine Fusion monster from your X deck and banish any number of Ojama monsters from your hand, face up from your field, or your graveyard to special summon, or to be able to special summon fusion materials with different names whose names are specifically listed on the card that you revealed from your hand, deck, and or graveyard, equal to the number of monsters banished to activate this card's ability, which is a great effect to be able to basically banish 3 Ojamas to summon A, B, and C to your side of the field, so you can tribute summon out Obelisk and then banish them from the graveyard to summon out your copy of ABC Buster Dragon. This card is one of the most important cards in the entire build because it gives you all 3 cards that you need to be able to summon out your copy of Obelisk the Tormentor. It also has a really cool ability that helps you draw a card, because you can banish this card from your grave and then target 3 of your banished Ojama monsters, shuffle them into the deck, and then draw a card to help you recycle your cards. We then play 3 copies of Ojamagic. Ojamagic is great as a 3-of in the build, because this card gives you an additional normal summon, which is just so cool. It lets you send an Ojama card from your hand or face up from field to the graveyard to be able to add from your deck to your hand 1 Ojama monster with a different name and an armed dragon monster from your deck or graveyard. Then immediately as effect results, you get to normal summon 1 of those monsters, which is a crazy powerful effect to be able to use with cards like Ojama Red, which is just such a good ability because it'll swarm the board without even using your normal summon, which is really cool. This card also has a really insane effect, and during your main phase, you can banish this card from your grave, and then target 3 of your banished Ojama monsters and shuffle them in the deck, and then draw a card, just like your copy of Mass Simulation, which is amazing. This card is really good in the deck as a 3-of. We then play 3 copies of the Breaking Ruin God. This card is insane. This card gives you a free Obelisk the Tormentor on your side of the field, and just lets you special summon it to your side of the field, which is just absolutely insane. This card has a crazy powerful effect that the activation of this card or its effects cannot be negated, nor can its effects be negated, and you special summon 1 copy of Obelisk the Tormentor from your hand or grave. And if you do, it's unaffected by your opponent's card effects this turn, basically giving you a 4,000 towers on your side of the field, and it's a quick play spell, which makes it even better. It also has the ability, if you tribute 2 or more monsters that you control at the same time, to activate your card's effect, basically using Obelisk the Tormentor's ability. While you control Obelisk the Tormentor, you can banish this card from your grave to be able to banish all monsters in your opponent's graveyard, and if you do, inflict 500 points of damage to your opponent for each, doing burn damage on top of getting rid of your monsters on your opponent's side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Polymerization. Polymerization is a really good 3-of in the deck to be able to step into cards like Ojama Knight and Ojama King, which is just really helpful to lock down zones. So this card is a definite 3-of in the build. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing a single trap, and that's going to be one copy of Ojama Pajama. This card is really cool in the build as a one-of, because if an armed dragon monster and or a light machine fusion monster you control would be destroyed by battle of a card effect, you can banish an Ojama card from your hand face up from field or grave instead, giving you a little bit of protection. It also has the ability during the main phase, you can add an Ojama card from your deck to your hand, then discard a card, which is really cool to be able to use with your copy of Oja Magic. And it also has the ability, if this card is sent to the grave, you can actually special summon as many of your banished Ojama monsters as possible, which is great to swarm the board so you can summon out your copy of Obelisk. So, that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with Ojama King. Ojama King is great because when this card is on your side of the field, you can actually lock down 3 of your opponent's monster zones, which is so cool because it basically locks them down so your opponent cannot use them. But this card is great alongside your copy of Ojama Country because it will flip its attack and defense points, boosting this card to 3,000 attack points. We then play a single copy of Ojama Knight. Ojama Knight is a great one-of because this card actually locks down 2 of your opponent's monster zones, so if you put your copy of Ojama Knight and your copy of Ojama King on the field, you'll get a full lockdown of all of your opponent's zones. But the cool thing about Ojama Knight is it just requires any 2 Ojama monsters to make this card, where your copy of Ojama King specifically requires your copy of Ojama Green, Yellow, and Black to make, so it's a little easier to make your copy of Ojama Knight. We then play 2 copies of ABC Dragon Buster. This card is really good as a 3-of in the build because it's super easy to summon out this card by just banishing the materials from your graveyard or your side of the field, which is just so cool. And also it has a really cool ability that once per turn, during either player's turn, you can discard a card and then target 1 card on the field and banish it, giving you spot removal as well, which is just amazing. It also has the ability during your opponent's turn, you can tribute this card and then target 3 of your banished light machine type union monsters with different names and special summon them, and it's a quick effect, which is a great ability for this card to have, just to be able to put your ABC pieces back on the field, so you can either use them for link material or to summon out your copy of Obelisk. We then play a single copy of Joyous Melfies. Joyous Melfies is great because of its first ability, that you can actually detach a material from this card to be able to make your Melfi monsters attack directly this turn, which is a really cool ability to help you step into a copy of Zeus. We then play a single copy of number 64, Ronin Raccoon. Ronin Raccoon is great to be able to generate a token, and the really cool thing about the token is it actually ties for its attack points, or its attack and defense become equal to the highest attack and defense on the field, which is great because we're usually going to have a 4,000 attack point monster on our side of the field, which is insane for this card to be able to do. We then play a single copy of AA Zeus. AA Zeus is really good to be able to make just as a board wipe, and it's a great card in this build. We then play 2 copies of Soryuja Skull Dread. We really need to draw in this deck, and it's very easy to swarm the field in this build. So this card is great because it lets us draw 4 and then put 3 back, but it also lets us special summon a monster from our hand, which is amazing about this card. We then play a single copy of Access Code to pop cards on the field. It's a great card to be able to summon in the deck, and it's just an amazing card overall because it gets absolutely massive when it touches the field. Play a single copy of Appaloosa because we can make it during the opponent's turn with our ABC pieces and our copy of IP Masquerena, which makes it super easy to put multiple monster engages on the field. Play a single copy of Ojama Emperor. This card is just really good overall in the deck because while Ojama Country is in the field zone, this card gains 300 attack. Also, it cannot be destroyed by card effects, and your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken from attacks on this card instead, which is so cool. It also lets you target 1 non-link Ojama monster in your grave and special summon it, which is just a really cool ability to be able to do, just to be able to get another monster on your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Nightmare Phoenix to pop spells and traps, which is just really good. We then play a single copy of SP Little Knight. You can change this card out for Nightmare Unicorn if you don't have SP Little Knight, which is a really good option to be able to do, but this card is a double disruption, which is why we play it in the build. Finally, we play a single copy of IP Masquerena. IP is just amazing overall in this build because IP helps out so much to help you step into cards like SP Little Knight or even your copy of Appaloosa during the opponent's turn. So, that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played an Ojama God card deck, you should definitely give this build a try. I absolutely love summoning Obelisk in this deck because I think it's hilarious to summon your copy of Obelisk next to a copy of Ojama Blue, which is just so cool. It's really a funny thing about these two cards, and it just kind of looks like Ojama Blue is like the little version of Obelisk, and it's just really funny, which I love about this deck. And you guys should definitely check out this build because you can summon out all sorts of really cool boss monsters to your side of the field. So that's gonna do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.